This audio message was originally recorded in August of 2023 by Will Nutter, who states that he is able to access this information from his alter, Johan Fritz, who is on an Alliance flagship in space and has access to their secret space program database. Will has this ability to connect with his alter Johan, but he needs to get permission to access these files only during non-critical operating hours and within very short periods of time. Till now, we've been very reluctant to share certain information that cannot be proven or verified, but since the time of this recording, we've been able to gather a lot of supporting and corroborating information from multiple independent sources regarding some of what he talks about here. So we now feel more comfortable to share some supplemental material that we've collected over the years like this, so that you guys can use your own discernment and decide for yourselves. And it's important to note for this that no specific details were provided to Will prior to this recording other than our grandfather's name, Daniel Morris Salter, our names, and our birth dates.
The following audio reflects personal claims and interpretations that have not been independently verified. The creators of this video are sharing the recording for transparency and discussion. Viewers are encouraged to use discernment and to form their own conclusions.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be in internet land. My name is William Nutter. This particular recording is for a kind of succinct version of an SIA sessions in regards to Daniel Morris Salter, Daniel DeSteven, and Derek DeSteven. I'll be starting with Daniel Morris Salter. The birthday listed for Daniel Morris Salter was 09/07/1928. The way these break down is that there will be a childhood section, a notes section, and then further information about the programs. So in the childhood section for Daniel Morris Salter, it's noted that between ages of 1 and 5, he was essentially screened as a child, and then abductions started happening during the testing process. When he was tested and put under the lights, basically they asked him what he was seeing, and he called them night terrors or shadow people, which is his mind's way of trying to make sense of these people stepping through a Project Looking Glass dilation. Between ages of 5 and 8, he was brought in for further screening and interfacing. At age 8, he was killboxed and fractured. That happened. It took 14 attempts to finally get him to break. Between the ages of 8 and 12, he was screened further. He was tested and passed what we would call level 1 and level 2, now level 1, level 2 basic super soldier training. He didn't have the military training, but he had the ET interface training, which we're going to get into in a little bit. At age 12 through 14, he worked alongside of and was tested with some ACIO personnel. And age 14 to 21, he was basically greenlit by ACIO, and eventually the project that the NSA and the CIA took over. Now the ages for this would have been, his age 1 for him would have been 1929, age 5, 1933. That particular year is important because 1932, the Germans were already recovering downcraft in the Black Forest. Age 8, 1936, there was a second crash that happened in the Black Forest, but he was age 8 at that point. Age 12 would have been 1940, which was the year before the U.S. got involved in World War I, but it's also the year the Germans touched down on the moon via Project Valhalla. Age 14 was 1942. Age 17 was 1945. Interesting of note, age 19 for him would have been 1947, which was the creation of the NSA CIA. And age 21 was 1949. He had a very long noted military history. He also had a noted history with the National Reconnaissance Office. As a child, basically he became what was considered a pre-generation zero, which we would call them today a progenitor in the programs, meaning somebody who predated the standard protocols that we now see with how people are programmed, fractured, tested, that sort of stuff. He did have issues with psychotic breaks, and it was noted in his teens that he already had PTSD and was diagnosed, but he never disclosed it. The best friend of his was the actual placed handler in his life, and was the individual who kind of made sure that he never regained any of any more memories than what he did gain here. He wrote many initial documents for ACIO on how to do interfacing, all the way up to what's called level 2 training. And that became the bedrock of what we see today in the programs for ET and human communication. Interesting of note, he did have Masonic connections. He also saw the first cloning technology perfected when it came to the U.S. It came from Japan during World War II. That same technology was also farmed out to the Germans that went to Antarctica. And he saw it being used here in the U.S. As part of ACIO. He was considered a Jason, a quote-unquote Jason, Jason. These are individuals who have what's called MAGI, or Majority Information Clearance, MAJI clearance, Majority Information Clearance. This is above Q. It's above Cosmic or any of those. There's only 15 of them in the U.S. at any one time in the U.S. For clearance purposes. These individuals have the top clearance in the U.S. military and the U.S. military industrial complex establishment. He was at one point cloned into 2 copies of him, see, this is the part that's a little sketchy, right? Because they talked about either he was fractured or cloned into 2, which made a total of 3. So we're going to talk about those at this point. The first name that showed up as a cover or fracture or a clone was Benjamin Stevenson. The information on Benjamin started in 1945. We believe that's when the first run super soldier experiments, the Gen Zeros, it was the predecessor to them. And what I mean by that is when you look at Artichoke and Bluebird, which were happening in the early 50s, there was already a perfected system in place about how to fracture and mind control people at that point, which meant something had to have been developed between what we got from Germany in 1940 and the early 50s. And I believe he's right in that window. The experiment started after he got drafted and his enlistment started. He was eventually screened and approved, but the experiments were flawed and he never achieved being a super soldier. But Benjamin Stevenson was used as one of the 15 for a while. And he was in that position until he fell in love and asked for an out. And he was given an out. And the phrase given an out was in quotes. So I'm not sure if this means he was suicided or wiped. But he definitely was not allowed to retain anything when he left. They would not allow me to see which one of the 15 he was at that time, because for some reason it was marked as could endanger ongoing missions per ACIO, and ACIO's mainframe security would not allow me to see that part. It was noted as a Z-level clearance. And ACIO, I mean, I've got access, the same access Peter does. So there's some stuff that even Peter doesn't have access to because it's compartmentalized. The National Security Agency and the Central Intelligence Agency was formed in 1947 under the National Security Act, and they started a project called what they called Advanced Contact Intelligence Organization, or ACIO. And basically, this was an extraterrestrial-related issues driving human extraterrestrial cooperation through this clandestine organization. And they basically were cooperating with different consortiums of ETs to develop different technologies. So you could say that the first group, Consortium A, they oversaw ET interfacing with the exopolitics angle involved in that and how it would affect humans. So essentially, we were trying to understand the ET threat. The ETs are trying to understand us as a threat, right? Consortium B developed and reversed a lot of different technology. We're talking everything from UFOs all the way to blank slate technology and what they call the BST protocols. And they also worked with sophisticated time travel technologies. And they were trying to study what the future extraterrestrial threats could look like or be in that respect. All right. So with Consortium B, one of the things they did develop in reverse engineer was called the blank slate technology, or BST. And essentially, this is it comes in three forms. So you have the first form that was the ability to time travel that could rewrite history to what's called an intervention point. That intervention point is essentially the causal energy that centers around a major event on the timeline. For example, the breakup of the Soviet Union or the NASA space program. Clearly, the BST at that time was the most advanced technology, and clearly anyone who possessed it or was in possession of the BST technology can defend themselves from any aggressor. So the U.S. took that, and its consortium of countries took that very seriously. Now, a derivation of this BST technology and protocol is the same technology that was used on individuals when a program participant is blank slated. They use similar technology along with ET psychic skills and chemistry to wipe the mind of those involved. And examples of this would be my testimony about how they wiped me using ET psychic skills, how they used the hammer, how they used chemistry. You hear Jason Rice use the exact same terminology, Tony Rodriguez, and Corey Good, all using these terms. Now, essentially, what that means is they would use the technology or the psychic skills and the chemistry to essentially either fracture the mind and basically bury those memories so they couldn't ever be retrieved, or they tried to erase the memories completely and replace them with cover memories. Okay, the Consortium B of extraterrestrials included those from Cirrus B, who Alliance basically was saying on their servers that this is the same group that allegedly provided some time travel and interdimensional travel technology for the Montauk Project, but they also assisted in researching biological weapons here on Earth. The BST technology is and was the primary threat to other ET species. And I believe, and many others believe, that's the reason why ETs were coming here, because they knew that we had gotten a copy of that technology. And they were very concerned about us either being in space with it or using it. So let's understand this, right? The current universe we are in is the 32nd attempt at trying to get this universe correctly working. It's the 32nd instance or bubble of this universe, and this is the backup copy. So anybody who would go in and dick with it, they're very concerned about it because there isn't another attempt. So if someone starts using that BST technology, what they would try to do is like, for example, if we used it, well, first off, we would use it to do a reset, right? We'd stop any major event from destroying us. Two, we would notify ourselves about said threat. Or the third option would be we notify others, right? ETs and others about it happening. Or some combination of these three. ACIO is the primary interface with these extraterrestrial technologies and how to adapt them into mainstream technology and society, as well as how to use them in military applications. And they knew they were exposed to ETs and knew their agenda. All right. The second personality fracture clone. Also started in 1945. His name was Michael Moore. He was used in the ACO and was heavily trained. He started off as an agent, and he was put in with a group of agents in Dulce, New Mexico. And for a brief period of time, he worked as a point of contact for the human faction there. And the humans were told that levels 1 through 6 were only authorized. The ETs had multiple skirmishes with human security at that facility, and they especially did not want them down the 7th floor, which Michael Moore had noted. He called it Nightmare Hall because as they did all the human and genetic experiments there, they also had feeding tanks, feeding centers, and feeding halls there. They also grew clones there, and there's a lot of genetic editing of clones there as well. He eventually became a special agent and a field supervisor. He was trained up to level 2 interfacing with different ET groups. And he did help find homes for NAZIs. His background was essentially given to him was an engineer background. And he saw many human engineers working alongside ETs to achieve certain results at Dulce. And these included the Draco, the Orion League, Zeta Reticulans, and Matra. After multiple attempts to enter level 7 and being repelled, the humans by accident, and this is according to Phil Schneider, entered into that space, and Delta Force Rangers and Phil were all either injured or killed in the process. So if you want some corroboration about how that area was treated, that's what it is. Okay. The next little glimpse SIA-wise I'm going to read into is for Daniel DeSteven, born 8/07/1979. The childhood period that I saw was ages 1 through 5. There were selection, abductions, testing, night terror, shadow people, same with your grandfather. Age 5 through 9, you were put into let's call it singles training or singles cage and trained and evaluated. That was extended 1 year because you weren't able to handle the training very well, which is why you were there till age 9. Age 9, you were killboxed, and it took 15 attempts for you to pass the killbox training where you were fractured. 9 through 12, you were squad trained with 19 other children. And age 12 through 15, you passed Super Soldier Level 1. At age 15, they put a psychological hold because of some issues that were going on at age 15 here in the here and now. And at age 21, you were eventually picked up and used as an asset. And the year time periods we're talking about is age 1 would be 1980, age 5, 1984, age 9, 1988, age 12, 1991, age 15, 1994, and age 21, year 2000. So you're going to ask what was the cage and asset number? Well, you're in cage 15, asset 06. And specifically, I'm going to give you your asset tag because it did show up in the system. The asset tag is 150665 Golf, as in G, Golf, 52379 Hotel India Delta 08 Delta. I'm going to read that again. 150665 Golf 52379 Hotel India Delta 08 Delta. You were considered a Generation 6 super soldier. The cover memories you have of flying were actually cover dreams for being trained as a super soldier, especially being a pilot. And you were Project Ibis trained and selected. This is the same follow-on group to what Max Spears and his unit did, but you were considered Gen 2. He was considered Gen 1. The names for some of the alters given were Gunther Severin, Michael Tillman, Tobias Udo, Alexander Graymar, and Bastian Hine. Yeah, and that's that. For Derek DeSteven, born 07/28/1983. Again, very similar pattern to your grandfather. Ages 1 through 5, you were screened. There were lots of terrorist memories. shadow people, age 5 through 8, single trained like your brother. At age 8, you're kill boxed. Took 11 attempts to pass the kill box training. From age 8 to 11, you were squad trained, so you were very fast at learning squad training. From 11 to 17, you actually passed super soldier level 2 training. At which point, at age 17, you were put on hiatus and then picked up again at age 21. So let's put some years behind this. That would be age 1 would be 1984, age 5, 1988, age 8, 1991, 11 would be 1994, age 17, year 2000, and 21 would be the year 2004. You, like your brother, were also considered Generation 6 super soldier. And again, some of the ultras listed were Auric Holger, Christoph Jost, Karsten Vollrath, Walter Pascal, and Randall Reinhardt. Okay. Yeah, so understand the information I just gave you. The reason why this information is sort of important. One, it confirms that your family has been used a lot in the programs because there's a genetic component there. Two, I would say that there's also a lineage or family responsibility component as well. And thirdly, I would say that I think there is sort of like a karmic link to this as well. Maybe I was trying to find the soul lineage groups for you and your brother and your family, but I didn't have time because they cut my access. So I hope this helps, and I hope this gives you some clarity on the information in question. I hope it confirms some things. If you have any questions, please let us know. Please download this first and then listen to it. We're going to delete this off the online file share once you've downloaded it. So, and that'll be that. Hope you have a great time. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.